Hello everyone, welcome to Kritika Mathur Astrology. Today we are going to discuss about the fifth house in astrology and why is it important to study, what are the things that we should know about the fifth house. Fifth house is a very important house, so everyone who has interest in astrology, who wants to learn astrology must know the implications of the fifth house. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please go ahead and subscribe, and please press the bell icon also, because only after pressing the bell icon you will get notifications when I post a new video. So let's begin with today's fifth house in astrology video. So when we talk about the fifth house, the first thing which any astrology student should have in mind is that as per the Kal Purush Kundli, fifth house is the house of Leo and the ruler of Leo is Sun. So the qualities of Sun will be very important to know, and it will be implicable to the fifth house. Fifth house is, that's why a very important one, because we can understand it through the value of Sun. Sun is the king, Sun is the ruler, Sun is our soul. That's why the fifth house represents our soul. It represents the karmas that we have done. You can call it a window to our past life karmas. We can know the kind of deeds that we have done before, as in all our past lives, and we can also see the kind of results that we may expect from these kind of deeds. That's why it represents our past life karmas. It becomes very important to understand the value of fifth house and how the pending karmas, pending deeds are going to make difference into all of our lives. So it's very easy to understand it if we imply this simple concept that soul is just like our SIM card, and which keeps on traveling from one mobile to another mobile. The mobile here, of course, we understand is our bodies. So the soul remains the same, the body keeps on changing, and this is what we can know from the fifth house. Fifth house also represents our children. It also represents the arts, media, creativity, the fun, entertainment, all the factors related to the entertainment line. It is like a higher self, higher version of the third house. If you haven't watched my video on the third house, you can go here and watch it again, and you can go on the playlist, you will find the video on the third house as well over there. So it is a higher version of that. So if, let's say, if third house is the television industry, fifth house will be the media, will be the entertainment, will be the cinema theater industry. So the important celebrities, we see the people who are into performing arts, who are into theater, who are into acting, they have a very strong fifth house. Again, when we're talking about the fun element, sports play a very important role, and it is a higher self of the third house, which is the house of efforts. That's why again the sports become very important. Also, when we are talking about these factors which are bringing in happiness to us, it's our emotions as well. Fifth house is also our stored emotions, is the feeling, is the kind of behavior that we have towards us, towards other people, how our confidence is, again because confidence is linked with the sun, which is the natural fifth house Kal Purush Kundli. So here we also see that fifth house represents the love relationships, the romance also, because romance and love relationships are a very important part of our lives when it comes to the fun, games, entertainment. Romance, of course, is considered as a very pleasant activity, as activity which gives us peace of mind, which elevates our emotions. Fifth house is also associated with the risks. So any kind of risk that we take, especially in terms of money, which is like speculation, speculation of the stock market, bulls and bears, all of that, economics, we can see from the fifth house. We can see also the kind of risk that we take when it comes to gambling. You know, surprisingly, gambling is also associated with the fifth house. Any kind of risk that we are taking, again, that's why love relationships become very important, because fifth house is not like a marriage. It's for love relationship. Love relationship is, again, it's a risk, of course. If we really see it, it's a risk that, you know, the love relationship and the romance will reach to the marriage till the marriage or not. So that's why we can also understand that it's associated with the risk factor. Also it fifth house represents our intelligence, so it also represents the education that we have. That's why it represents basically your grasping power. It represents that how well you can understand things, how well you can grasp things, what is your intelligence level. So that's why it also represents our education. The level of education is seen through schooling. When we are talking about the fourth house, if you haven't watched my video on the fourth house, you can go ahead and watch that. It's not usually the fourth house education which is the schooling education, but this is our more education when it comes to our universities and college. This is the kind of education that we are referring to over here. So let's say if you have a very strong fifth house, you'll have a good relationship with your children, you will have a great education, you will have good luck from your past life karmas, because luck of course is seen through this house. When we're talking about gambling, when we're talking about the risk, luck plays a very important part. And how much will you struggle in this life? We can see if you have a strong fifth house, you will struggle less, you have less struggles, less obstructions, less challenges. Why? Because you're carrying the good past life karmas through your past life chain. So your luck factor will be more. Again, your education will be good. You will have gains from the speculative businesses, speculative like stock markets. We also see fifth house as your husband's gain. So let's say if we have a couple horoscope and we check the husband's career is not going that well, we see the wife's horoscope also, and her, let's say her fifth house is very strong, which means that she is supporting her husband through her past life deeds, and she is bringing luck into husband's career, into husband's income, into husband's ambitions through her own chart. This is how we say that marriage changes your life, because both the charts start to synchronize with each other. Now let's just say if you have sun in the fifth house, we see that the natural ruler himself is sitting in the fifth house. So here we can see that the relationship with the child is going to be very karmic. So you are going to be related to the child through your past life, and sometimes there's a delay in having a child because sometimes the soul from the earth has not yet departed. So unless the soul departs, of course he will not come back, right? So that's why we can see some delay in the childbirth when there is sun, and it's also karmic relationship. Let's say if you have moon in the fifth house, then you have a very strong emotional connect with the child, and it also says that the child is going to give a lot to you, going to give you a lot of importance, because this is the kind of karmas that you were not, you were to perform these karmas, you did very good for a certain soul, but they could not reciprocate, so they are coming back into this life now as your child to give back to you whatever you have given. So it's all about give and take as the karmic relationship. And also we see that if you have moon in the fifth house, you'll have a good grasping power. So the ability to learn, ability to the intelligence is going to be very, very high. Similarly, if let's say Mercury is there in your fifth house, or it's ruling the fifth house, let's say if you don't have any planet in the fifth house, we have to see the sign placement of the fifth house and the ruler of that. So let's say if fifth house is Gemini or Virgo, then the ruler is going to be Mercury, and then we can see that the child is going to be very intelligent. You yourself will be a very great personality, very intelligent person who loves to learn. And also we can see that you're going to be very calculative when it comes to your love affairs. You're going to be very calculative. Okay, I've paid 3 dates, okay, the next date, then next dinner date is going to be paid by you. You know, these kind of people exist, right? So they're going to be very calculative into their love affairs. Okay, should I go for him, should I not go for him, what's the money that I'm getting, what's the kind of connection that I have, that this person has, how he can help me, how we can help each other. Very calculative, very strategic, maneuvering into the relationships. Similarly, the stocks that he's going to invest in, the risks that he's going to take are also going to be very calculative. Let's say if Jupiter is the ruler of the 5th house, or let's say if Jupiter is sitting in the 5th house, then all things are going to be like the things that 5th house relates to are going to be expansive. So you're going to expect a lot from your love life. You're going to be putting in a lot of money into risk. You'll be having a lot of degrees of education. So you're going to do 2 MBAs, you're going to do 3 MBAs. So it's everything is going to be more in a larger quantity. Let's say if Saturn is there in the 5th house, this is kind of the best placement because Saturn will give you certain control, certain discipline. So in the love relationship also, you're going to be more disciplined, you're going to take it, it's going to be very stable. You're going to have delays, of course, to have a child, but when you have one, then it's going to be very nice. So it gives a certain kind of stability, it gives a certain kind of a fixed nature to any kind of thing. So even if it's for education, okay, even if it's for relationships, you're going to be more serious about them. When, let's say, if you have Venus in the 5th house, going to bring a lot of creativity. Naturally, you're a very creative person. You have art, it's more like performing arts. So let's say that 3rd house is the television industry. Like I was saying, the 5th house is a higher version of it. So if you're into, like if you have Venus in the 5th house, then you're going to be more creative. You're going to be, maybe you're into entertainment industry. 5th house also represents politics, by the way. So you're going to be naturally creative. So performing arts is like you're singing on a stage. So 3rd house is singing, 5th house is singing on a stage. So you'll be naturally as a performer. And the problems will come on if you have Venus in the 5th house, is that you're going to have a lot of relationships. So it's like the hunger never ends, like they say. So you're going to feel that every person you connect is your soulmate, because 5th house again is the soul, is the past life connection. So you're going to be feeling that, okay, this person, every person you're going to have a special relationship with, and you're going to be very friendly, of course, but when you have a love relationship, then you will not be able to stick to one person. So this is where you will face some of the problems. If you have Rahu Ketu, then we say that if you have Ketu in the 5th house, then you will have everything. Okay, you might be doing very good karmas in your life, and you might be accumulating the good karmas from your past life also, but you will not have that kind of satisfaction in the life. You will feel that something is missing. This is always, wherever Ketu is present over there, you will feel, okay, something is missing. If you have Rahu in the 5th house, then you may have some problems in the pregnancy. You will have education. It's very good to go for education like electronic engineering if you have Rahu in the 5th house, by the way. But in general, you will have again, the love relationship will have a lot of problems, because you'll have a lot of expectations from the spouse or from the partner. It's a higher version of Venus when we say hunger never ends, because Rahu is a bhoga karka. So you always needs to, you have a habit of taking it in, give less back, but more in. So you'll always feel like, okay, I want more, I'm not satisfied, I want this person, I want that person. So you're going to have a lot of love affairs, but you'll not have that kind of stability. That's why I said Saturn here does very well, providing a discipline and control in the love relationships. Again, if you have Rahu in the 5th house, then you have to be careful when you're doing speculative business, because whatever you do, you'll be very spontaneous, and you will have a lot of risk-taking abilities. If you have Mars over here, Mars, if it's there in the 5th house, then you will unfortunately have this habit of controlling your children. So you're going to be one of those parents who will say, okay, my son or my daughter is going to grow up to be a doctor. So you're going to control. So if you have Mars in the 5th house, try not to control your children, or try not to be over protective on your children. So this will also come if Mars is aspecting the 5th house, and aspects, conjunctions, all of these things do matter, and we have to take into account all of these things. If you have Mars in the 5th house, you will have a lot of risk-taking abilities. You may put your money here and there, and this may cause a little bit of an issue for you. So we have seen how planets react, how planets behave in these situations, the fifth house, and we have seen why it's important to study the fifth house. Some of the remedies I would like to mention over here at the end, that if your fifth house is bad, if you want to enhance the good fifth house already, then you have to get into spiritual activities, because naturally fifth house is ruled by Jupiter. The natural karak of children also is Jupiter. Jupiter is spirituality, is the guru. So the more and more you're engaged into spirituality, the less of the problems you will face related to the fifth house activities. And also fifth house is the mantrocharan, the ability for you to practicing the mantras. That is also seen from the fifth house. So the more you have abilities to do the mantras, mantrocharans, the more you will be into spiritual activities, then the better the fifth house will be for you. So this was from my side on the fifth house. We will be very soon back with another video on the sixth house. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe below. If you haven't pressed the bell icon, please do so, because only after pressing the bell you'll get notified when I post a new video. So stick to my channel, a lot more important videos coming up on this series. So thank you so much, and stay tuned.